Hello and welcome to Virtual Open Day for Deakin University, a day that's all about tomorrow.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us online for this Virtual Open Day. Before we start the proceedings and give you some information about our courses, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that as we gather here today for this meeting, we're physically dispersed and we're virtually constructed, but we still need to take a moment to reflect on the meaning of place, and in doing so to recognise the various traditional lands that we're all doing our business on today. So Deakin would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians on the lands on which our university campuses are based. The Wadawurrung people of the Kulin Nation, on whose country our Geelong campuses are located. The Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, on whose country our Burwood campus is located. And the Peek Wurrung people of the Maar Nation, on whose country our Warrnambool campus is located. I myself am located on Wurundjeri country, and on behalf of all of us, I pay our respects to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander traditional custodians, elders and ancestors of all the lands from which you may be joining on our gathering today. I express our gratitude for their care of country, which continues to sustain us as it has done for millennia. Education has had a long and rich heritage on this continent, which we aim to honour and reflect in the way that we teach and learn.
My name is Tonya Mayrick and I'm the course director for our Bachelor of Design here at Deakin University. I'm a senior lecturer in design where I teach in the undergraduate design program as well as the contemporary practices in honours and postgraduate programs. I'm joined today by Dr. Katie Lee, lecturer in visual arts and course director for our Bachelor of Creative Arts, Visual Arts and Photography. Katie is a visual artist who works with sculpture, performance, video, drawing, and we're delighted to give you an insight into studying creative arts and design here at Deakin University.
So in this session, we want to give you a really good overview of how we foster creative and intellectual capacities through the practice-based learning in the classroom, and how in particular this is supported by our dynamic studios and our facilities. So what we're really interested in looking at is giving you a really strong idea of what the course is, why you might come to study creative arts at Deakin, the sort of facilities that we have, and importantly how to apply. We'll include a kind of overview of the design of the degree structures for both visual arts, photography and for design. And hopefully you'll walk away having a really clear understanding of how the opportunities, the options, how you might structure your course, and then what next steps that you might take in order to apply.
So why choose Deakin? We're in the top 1% of universities worldwide. We're number one in Victoria out of Victoria universities for educational experience. There are many other reasons, including graduate surveys, our 40 years experience in distance and online education. And we're also Victoria's number one university for teaching quality.
So one of the things that's really exciting about the degrees that you're interested in today are that they are creative degrees, and we understand that you are coming to these courses because you are creative. So what we want to acknowledge in that is that your own pathway through creativity and the way that you might find yourself here, but also the way that you might find your career post-study here, is not a straight line. And what we want to assure you is that we can kind of help take and foster the creative urges that you have, the creative talents and the direction that you might want to take, and to try and shape that into something which has perhaps maybe not a straight line, but a much more direct line to future careers and opportunities.
So why study art and design at Deakin University? Well, we want to foster you in what you love to do. We understand that creatives are expressive and innate storytellers, and that's why we're committed to offering a diverse industry-informed disciplines so that you can specialise in areas that you're passionate about to develop your communication and creative practices. Our built-in focus for your future career prepares you from day one with the opportunity to develop business, entrepreneurial and freelance mindsets and leadership skills, which are crucial for tomorrow's practitioners.
So 2023 is a really exciting year for us here. We are rolling out a course structure which we can share with you here, It'll make more sense when we start to populate the subjects into it that you will study, so bear with us because we'll give you some information about that down the track. But the first thing you should know is that all of our courses in the Creative Arts and the Bachelor of Design will follow this model, where in the first year you'll take, there's the thematic core that's in first, second and third year. You'll have a will unit or a careers unit, which will give you an integrated work experience into your course. You then take either 2 majors or a major and 2 minors. So again, you could major in art and visual arts and photography. You could major in visual arts and creative writing, or you could take visual arts and then minor in 2 areas, say for example, theatre studies or Indigenous studies. So we're really excited to show you how that operates both across the visual arts and photography and design. And in order to do that, we'll go into a bit more detail. So first of all, I'll take you through the Bachelor of Creative Arts. Again, this is our course structure, which in our case will have in the thematic core units, we take you on a journey from looking at your own creativity in the first year, thinking through doing, which is really about taking you, as we said, a creative who's perhaps still trying to work out what that means for them, and really unpack what the creative practice looks like in the studio for you. Then in the second year, we start to look outwards and think, okay, so I've got this creative skill set, I'm passionate about this, I love what I do. How do I start to find work in this area? So we have a unit called freelancing in the arts. And in the final year, we start to shape up your capacity to write critically. And that might just be writing an artist statement for a gallery, it might be doing review, or it might be starting to build up your language around doing further research into an honours year and beyond. So we really feel that that creative, that thematic core will kind of help shape the studies that you do along the way. The will units are really exciting, your future career. You'll have 3 units in each of the year levels that will integrate workplace opportunities, internships, it's really exciting things that you can do within that space as well. So our studio units will take you through the really foundational skills that you need in visual arts and photography. We will teach you the fundamentals of each of these areas of study. You'll then get an opportunity to hone them as you go through the year levels. So I'll show you how these look in our course map. So in year 1, as you can see, if you're studying visual arts and read across in each year level here, you'll do the thematic core, but you'll also do drawing and the body in the visual arts, I'll take you through visual arts first and then photography. So in visual arts, you'll do a drawing unit where you'll learn to draw, you'll learn to draw the body, you'll learn to model the body in 3D. You'll also do a painting unit. Sorry, that's been repeated there. So the second one should be painting, and that's a foundational painting unit that takes you through all the basic steps. In the second year, you do 4 visual arts subjects as well as your creative thematic core and will units. So in the second year, you'll do abstraction in the visual arts, which is another sort of 2-dimensional into 3-dimensional conceptual unit, but it teaches you, building on the skills that you've developed in the drawing and painting, to think abstractly and to start to do some more work in that space. Art and public space, which is a really fantastic unit. It's very related to how you might shape work in this industry, but also thinking about audiences. Practice-led research in the visual arts, and the visual arts major project is where you really get an opportunity to do your own work, to shape your own project in the mediums that you want to, that you've got foundational skills within. And from that, we also try and kind of reach across the whole school to bring together a graduate exhibition and showcase all of our work. We'll also do a modelling in the visual arts unit, which is another fantastic unit which takes you into how to propose a work, how to propose a large scale work, how to realise and ideate your work from concept into a model, and also a digital practices unit where we look at really cutting edge technology in the visual arts. In photography, we have an equally packed program, which again takes you from these basic skills. So we step through analog photography, we've got darkroom facilities, we've got printing facilities, we show you how to work the cameras, we've got cameras here that you can use. Digital photography, again, taking you through step by step all the processes that you need to be an expert in that field. When you go into second year, you'll build on these skills: advanced digital studio, advanced darkroom practices, which you need in a skill set like photography because it's an incredibly technical area. So we make sure that we scaffold and teach you through all of those units so that you can come out and be a professional photographer in the field. We also don't forget about your creative journey though. We take you through photographic storytelling, and again, these sort of further built subjects into the lighting, studio lighting and lens-based practice, as well as post-production from print to screen, and a research unit which allows you to have your own area of study that you might want to explore something further. So we'll move on to the next slide and show you now a little bit more about how this might work overall. So for example, you might choose to do a double major, which in our area could be visual arts and photography, but you could also choose to study photography and writing, for example. And this is a slide where we really start to see the potential of our course here at Burwood, because these kind of majors are really clear building block subjects which will teach you all the skills that you need for working in that industry. So you could do a really exciting combination of things like visual arts and publishing, which makes a lot of sense. You can do photography and writing, which might lead you down towards the journalism track, or towards children's illustration, or towards, you know, all these kinds of things that you can start to really see what the outcomes of this might be. But as I said, you can also do 2 minors, which opens up this fabulous range of possibilities as well. Visual arts, for example, is a major with an Indigenous Studies and Creative Writing minors. I mean, I feel incredibly excited about these opportunities and options for you to shape the kind of things that you'd like to do. You can also do photography with theatre production. You could become, you know, practiced in documenting the theatre, both from the perspective of taking photographs of the theatre productions that you do, but also you know, promotional material, all sorts of other things that come into that. Or you could also do a visual arts degree with analog practices and digital practices as your 2 minors, or opposite, photography major with the 2D visual arts practices and the 3D visual arts practices. So it allows you to sort of really capture and then streamline and build your skills in whatever areas that you want to do. And there's enormous amounts of flexibility that we can offer you in that space. So we're really excited about the way that the course is shaping up for 2023 delivery. Essentially, what we're looking to do is build individual students' capacity. So we don't have one shape that you have to take. We really want to foster the course that you want to step through in the way that you choose your subjects and your major and minor areas. And so we produce a really diverse range of students, and students that continue to study with us through to, you know, postgraduate level, PhD level. And this slide here shows you, I guess, a number of the sort of range that we have of students who work both in professional photography areas, but also who work in performance, who work within visual arts in performance, but also across training into theatre and theatre production. We have students who do interactive public artworks, who work for councils, who have large scale shows, supported by Deakin and our relationship to public art. And these are huge assets for us. We have an amazing faculty who have incredible strong industry relationships and who can guide you through and take you right out into industry and show you these relationships as they're built. So I guess the thing to take away from this slide is that we have a range of students. They do 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional, public artwork, performance work, all sorts of things. And then we work really closely as a faculty together and have a lot of crossover and cross-disciplinarity opportunities for you, but that we come from a discipline base. So you'll learn your basics in 2D, 3D and photography skills, both analog and digital. Our facilities are incredible. We have state-of-the-art theatre spaces, dance spaces, we have black and white darkroom photography, we have high-end analog and digital cameras that all students can loan, both visual arts and photography. We have video cameras, we've got production workshop for set building, we've got dedicated visual art studios. So one of the things that I find really exciting about Deakin is that this kind of studio facilities are open, and we're used to students crossing over from one discipline area into another, so they're not segregated out. Students become accomplished across a range of different facilities, and we can still offer those really nuts and bolts skills that you need in all of these areas. So we're very excited to share those with you when you come and visit us at the open day.
Thanks, Katie. So let's move on to the Bachelor of Design degree. So a new Bachelor of Design degree rolling out next year at both Burwood and Waurn Ponds in Geelong is a major in communication design and a major in user experience and interactive design. We also have a range of minors in the area of design, and those minors are brand design, design for social media, interactive design, and publication design. So again, as Katie was talking, we're following a model that works across the whole school, and that allows interchangeability with degrees. So I'm going to present to you a potential double major degree now in communication design, user experience, and interactive design. Here on the screen, we've got all of the units in green relate to communication design, and our units in grey are UX and interactive design. And we have a core spine that works across both majors. In our first year, we introduced design thinking methodologies based on the Stanford 5-step model. In second year, we work on a design laboratory where we group interdisciplinary students up and present them with really challenging industry-based problems to solve in a laboratory environment. And our third year, we consider design for activism, design for politics, and design for change. In our communication design spine, we introduce students in their first trimester to the fundamentals of design. So the building blocks, essentially, that'll take students through the degree. And so that's software and also hand skills and drawing skills and computer skills there. And moving forward, we look at typography and type foundations, and this really introduces students to the language of design. And we move through in second year in communication design to think about how that's all put together in the grammar of design. We cover information design, thinking about how symbols and text and image create powerful messages for client briefs and for information design campaigns globally. We explore illustration design and drawing fast in a studio environment, whipping up storyboards or thinking about a client's concept and the ability of a student to be able to respond to the needs of industry quite quickly within sort of meeting environments, and draw up mixed media, and we cover markers and collage in a few different areas in our illustration design unit. Our environmental design unit focuses on design in the environment. So we're thinking about wayfinding, navigation, large-scale systems of design, navigating buildings and the built environment. So that's a really interesting unit that puts design back into the built environment. And our final second year unit focuses on design for branding or identity design. And it's in that unit where we have industry clients present us with design challenges, and we bring those to students to start to grapple with how clients are presenting information to designers. And we work with students over the 11-week program to understand a brand promise, the key brand messages, how we're getting out in design channels, and how we're really developing the individual as a branded designer. Our third year communication design program is based around strategic design approaches, and we're really starting to synthesize design. So our first year, we're thinking about the language. The second year, we're thinking about the grammar of design. And our third year, we're really starting to harness and starting to critically analyze the strategies of design to synthesize all of this information together in students' skills and knowledge so that they're ready to be practitioners for tomorrow. The Creative Design Studio unit allows students to choose the brief, the design brief. And so students are presented with 10 to 15 design briefs across illustration, packaging, sustainable programs for identity design, and also some really exciting design briefs from art centres and councils around Australia. So students get to choose the focus that they'd like to really think about, whether they want to move into sort of the web-based considerations or more traditional packaging per se. UX and Interactive Design degree is a new major for our Bachelor of Design. And what this positions is students to be able to work within designing experiences for users across all digital platforms. So in the first year, again, we introduce students to the language of interactive design and user experience design through an interactive design and UX fundamental unit, where we break down usability testing, psychology and behaviours of systems of interaction, and we start to build those as the blocks moving through to second year. Games and interactive design and digital experience design contain our second part of the degree. So that's starting to think about the grammar. So we're introducing some more advanced programs such as Unreal Engine, design for interactivity, whether that's across augmented reality or virtual reality situations, but also thinking about gaming and game fundamentals and how users interact. Moving through to the second part of our second year in the UX and Interactive Design degree, we think about digital placemaking and how students can position themselves both within the internet and a digital site, but also how that relates to the physicality of the built environment. Our user interface design unit is specifically directed towards the generation of interfaces for a variety of users, and we adopt a human-centered design and inclusive design method and consider really the best way and the most positive way to design for inclusivity across a wide range of users. In our design degree, we have a range of staff who work internationally across a range of areas. So you can see me there, and my focus is on typography and place. We have Professor Stefan Greuter, who's the head of the Deakin Motion Lab, is an interactive games specialist. Dr. Russell Kennedy is the head of screen and design and focuses on Indigenous design and developing protocols for Indigenous content throughout Australia and internationally. Colin Tretcher, who's a gun illustrator and works across communication design. Associate Professor Megan Kelly, who is the Associate Dean of Teaching and Learning for the faculty, and her focus is on multicultural and global design strategies. And Maria Bates, who has been working with the World Health Organization, considering the, with the United Nations Women Agency, working on domestic violence campaigns in the Pacific. And many of us work in a not-for-profit capacity for a range of different areas. Our degrees are underpinned and recognised by the Design Institute of Australia, which means that the degree that you're getting has been formally recognised by the Design Institute of Australia. And so that means that you'll stand out when you graduate with a Deakin degree. We're also active members of the International Council of Design and the Australian Graphic Design Association, and we spearheaded the Indigenous Design Charter. Industry partnerships is a very rich space, which I look forward to speaking with you all about more at our open day. But you can see there that we've got some great partner organisations, too many really to fit into one slide, but we bring their briefs to the classrooms, our interns to the offices, and our graduates are employed in their workplaces. And I'll briefly show you a show reel of some students' work. And we really hope that you come on Open Day if you can, and you're in Australia, because there are so many different things that you'll get to see from all staff and students. We've got a great international program, but I have run out of time to talk about that today. And so thinking about next steps, please, there are so many different ways to apply. School leavers through VTAC, non-school leavers can do direct applications. We have pathways from study or work experience, which recognise the prior work you may have done to coming to university. You could join us as an international student, so please jump onto the website. And we do have international entry requirements. And thanks for joining us. I think we might be about that time, but Katie, is there anything else you wanted to pop in there before we finish today?
No, I just feel like between your course and my course, I don't know how we could possibly decide, but I guess one of the messages that I'd like to just share is that we've got a lot of flexibility. You can do visual arts and take design subjects. You can do design subjects and take visual arts subjects, along with all the other ones that we've offered you today, glimpses of different pathways of how to mix and match. But please come to our open day. We'll be here. We've got lots of exciting things to share with you if you're able to come, but also please feel free to get in touch through the links and web chats and various ways that are on the screen.
Thanks so much. I hope to see you soon.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Bye.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our virtual Open Day with Deakin University. My name is Tonya Mayrick. I'm a Senior Lecturer in Design with the University and Course Director for our Bachelor of Design. So hello and welcome to our live Q&A session. Today I'm joined by a range of presenters. We have Dr. Katie Lee here. She's waving for us. Maria Bates from Design, and Megan Perez also from Design, and Katie Lee is Course Director for our Bachelor of Creative Arts in Photography and Visual Arts. So if you would like to ask a question, we would love to hear from you. Please type your question into the Q&A section in the question panel and on this page, and we're going to do our best to answer all of your questions during the session. If you do have any unanswered questions at the end of the session, we've got a team of experts behind the scenes who are available all day on the web chat, and they're there to assist you with any of the questions that you may have, anything specific to being a domestic or an international student, related to admissions or fees queries, or those sort of tricky questions that our academics and study experts aren't placed to answer. So please click on the web chat icon at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen after the session to be connected with our team. So to kick us off today, we have our first question that's just coming in here. Okay, so our first question that's come through, and I'll just put it out to the panel, is this potential student's really interested to know what are the industry connections that are part of the courses, and are there any industry related placements? So I'll put it out to the panel today.
I think we'd both like to speak to that, but Maria, perhaps you want to go first because you've got some very exciting things to share in the design space.
Thanks, Katie, and hi, everybody. Yes, so in design, we have a number of different avenues that allow us to integrate with industry. Our whole course is actually designed or written in a way where we have regular industry connections throughout your whole degree. So in first year, perhaps not as much. We teach you the base level skills that you need to then start to produce work to industry standard at first year. In second year, we start to introduce industry briefs within the majority of our units. And so students are responding to real world briefs at second year. Following that into third year, our main units in third year all respond, or our specific discipline area units all respond to real world briefs and have connections then back with clients while you're working through your real world briefs. So it's an amazing experience throughout your whole degree that you get to interconnect. We also, with our new major minor sequences, we also have or work integrated learning units that are compulsory at first, second and third year. So that prepares you for that industry experiences. Also in second or third year, we have global experiences that you can undertake. So I take a program where we we actually are travelling to Japan, and in most years we do travel physically to Japan, apart from the last couple. We are doing that again this year, and our students have a fantastic opportunity to work with from both screen design and creative arts, actually, not just design in this program. So we take along creative arts students as well. And they work with industry professionals from the creative arts and design area to respond to a real world brief. And we're having a fantastic opportunity this year to exhibit those responses as alongside the Streaming Heritage Festival in Nagoya, which is an international festival. So amazing WIL experiences, as I said, throughout your whole degree, and then some more specific, as well as obviously internships where you might go and work in a studio or those sorts of things on top of that. And they can be part of your compulsory WIL units that happen at first, second and third year. But over to you, Katie, because you've probably got some exciting things to chat about in creative arts.
Thanks, Maria. Yeah, so the creative arts area, I guess people come from different backgrounds and different discipline areas and have different ideas about what they want to do as they progress through their studies. And we're all about sort of shaping that journey for people and making sure they get the kind of experiences that they need. So one way to get a work integrated experience is to come and say, I think I'm interested in working in galleries, or, you know, I'd like to sort of try and apply myself to this industry area, and we'll go out and reach out and make connections and establish a particular work integrated learning experience for you. But the exciting stuff that we've got happening at the moment is related to our own professional practice and the sort of opportunities that the faculty often are aware of through their professional and industry connections as well. So we've got a really amazing range of practicing artists that work here who are involved in public art practice and commissioning new works and things like that, and really strong relationships with galleries and industry through that. So the example that I would like to share about what we're doing at the moment is a relationship with the Hobsons Bay Council in Altona Meadows, and a sort of internship that's developed there to revisit an important American land artist, Agnes Dennis's work in Altona Meadows. And so it's an opportunity for our students to go out and revisit that site and then try to create a festival in response to that work, which will be located at a different site in Altona Meadows. So the students are sort of working directly with the City of Hobsons Bay. They'll be commissioned to make those final artworks at the end. And there's also a curatorial internship that will sit alongside that, again, where they'll be paid to help produce that festival, and it'll include things like a symposium and things like that. So it's things like that which come along and which we're able to sort of grasp and then turn into an opportunity, and we're very flexible about that and constantly trying to embed things that we're aware of happening in the community within our program. So I think the new course that we're introducing in 2023 will have really exciting work integrated learning opportunities across all of the creative arts and design areas. And I think it's certainly something that we feel like all of our courses sort of hinge upon, is constantly trying to reach out and make that connection back to how this applies. What kind of things can you do with this? How do I get involved? Which are some of the mysterious elements of being in the creative arts. And we're very much about taking down those kind of mythologies and giving opportunities.
Fantastic. I think it's fair to say that the industry connections are embedded at a very early stage in our degrees, and they continue and enrich through to graduation, which is really good because it leads us on to the next question that's come through from the audience. And the question is with regard to previous students, where they may have ended up after finishing their design degree. Have they gone into agency work, or can our panelists speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I'm happy to respond to that.
Yeah,
obviously, we have a range of different areas in which our students end up going into. So our practicing designers, or designers that really have those honed skills in making work, responding to briefs in a more practice-based way, will go into studios. We've had students that have worked with Cato Partners, Arco, which are really quite well-known studios. We also have quite a lot of students in our Geelong region that go and work with studios down in Geelong. For those students that perhaps have a more strategic approach to the way that they design, so they might go into project management or being a design strategist within larger corporations. So we've had students that perhaps go into PricewaterhouseCoopers and be a design consultant or looking at how human-centered design or design strategies can help inform the way that businesses approach solving problems in government areas, those sorts of things. So we have a really wide range of what our students are able to do at the end of their degree. And not every single student that graduates has that real pull to go in and do logo design or branding, although we obviously teach you those skills, and we have some really high achieving students that do that very, very well as others that sort of work more in in-house design studios. But Megan, I suppose I'd like to maybe give the reins over to you so that you can talk through what you've expected from the course. Megan's our student representative here. How your ideas of design have perhaps shifted from first year and what you thought that you might be doing at the end of your degree.
Yeah, definitely. I think when I was first going into like first year, I had like a rough idea of what I wanted to do in my design degree, especially because I'm majoring in visual communications. Now, visual communication, like the career is mainly outlined. Well, my first thoughts in first year was like, oh yeah, it's going to be like a graphics design career. So I'm going to be making logos. I'm going to be doing like packaging. I'm going to be doing like just a bunch of like posters and like business cards. That was my main idea of it. And then I realized like after doing my first year, I realized that, oh, you know, this degree is really like wide and encompassing of many different disciplines. And you meet many other different people who are also from other disciplines. Like I know I met other people who've done like 3D animation, who were just doing photography, who were doing, you know, even like IT as well. There's a unit I know that there was doing creative coding. That was one of them. So it encompasses like, you know, digital technology and then also creative arts, and put it together to make like this really futuristic unit where you encompass art and technology. And I was like, it's really like wide and it's very broad. And so when it comes down to like what you want to do in design, it's super wide. So you can do almost anything you can think of. They teach you, they help you learn the material. All the professors are there to help you. So I think I would say when it comes to trying to figure out where you want to go with your degree or like what you want to do, there's so many different paths you can take. And the best thing to do is probably to consult with other people, or even consult with your professors, consult with your tutors, because they're there and they've had that, you know, experience. They've been in that industry before. So they probably already have a lot more experience with what you are trying to figure out what you want to do.
Fantastic. It's really good to hear, I think, from your perspective, Megan, because I believe that that's a lot of what the audience is coming to our program today and listening and really wanting to understand from you, from really what your experiences on the ground are and how they've changed. And I think it's a really poignant indication that you come in with a certain expectation and that gets turned on its head, but in a really creative and fun way, which is fantastic. So we've got another question that's come through, and it's for courses like UX or user experience design, how many contact hours would there be and how much online study is there? So that's a really good point. UX design is one of the majors in our Bachelor of Design. And over the 3 years, students, if they're doing a full-time load, it is like a full-time job. And that's really important to know, I think, for those who are about to embark upon university. And there is the option to do the whole degree online. So I think that that's a really exciting proposition for students who are not necessarily centred in one location and they can make it to campus. Those flexible study options are there for students. And then each week you might have 2 to 3 hours for one unit, and then expected to do up to about 8 to 10 hours per week to make up the work for that unit. And then so if you've got the 4 units each trimester, which is a full-time load, you're going to be in face-to-face seminars or face-to-face Zoom seminars as well, really either or, for up to 8 to 10 hours. And then the rest of the week, the 35 to 40 hours, is completing your own work. So it's a really exciting opportunity, but it's a flexible learning program, which is really suited to today's learners. One of the other questions that's come through here is, what are the creative arts facilities like at Deakin University? So I'll put that one back out to the panel.
Well, it's a pretty exciting campus. There's a huge range of different types of spaces. And I guess in a way I would describe the way we work there like a bit of a laboratory workshop sort of environment. So we've got huge theatre spaces, huge dance spaces. We've got obviously, you know, equipment for various different things, and visual arts have got 2 sort of student galleries that we work directly into installing our work, as well as 2 sort of major sort of laboratory type rooms that we work from our classes from. Visual arts in particular doesn't run a studio based program, but we do run this sort of lab model. So people make their work in the class. We've got huge amounts of equipment, so cameras, video cameras. We've got, you know, because we've got screen and TV, we've got drama, we've got dance, photography, design. So it's a really amazing hybrid space that we work across. And what we try to do is just facilitate the really unique and quite beautiful thing about Deakin is that we work so closely together across all those areas. So if we need to do something in a theatre space, or we've got access and sort of opportunities to work across those things. And so that everything's located in one sort of main building, and as you go through you'll start to sort of think, what's in that corridor, where's that? And you'll see like a green room screen, or you'll see, you know, where the design work's operating. So the facilities are unique, I think, at Deakin, and they operate, you know, differently to some other universities, in that we have got this close relationship to the other discipline areas that we're able to access and to share resources with. And also, I guess, a huge amount of sort of open access equipment that we really teach everybody and train everybody up to use.
Yeah, I'd love to add to that, Katie, and that's something that I think is really, really special about Deakin, is the close relationship we have across our whole school and the access to the amazing different technologies, spaces and things like that, both in undergraduate and through to postgraduate, if you choose to sort of continue your degree down that path. And so, yeah, as a designer, you get all this amazing access to photography studios, to dark rooms, to green rooms. You get that we've got a technology centre, a research centre called the Deakin Motion Lab, where you can do motion capture. So all these amazing things that you can do sort of helps your imagination of what you can do with your degree expand beyond sort of, and as we were sort of talking about earlier, and as Megan was saying, it expands beyond what initially you thought that you can do. And it also allows you to have this sort of specialist training in a broad area, whilst really honing in on where you want your degree to take you. And those facilities that mainly in one building at Burwood, or interconnected into a close by building. So we are very much integrated together. We do have some facilities down, obviously, for those wanting to learn down at Waterfront or down in Geelong. So we have some amazing facilities down on the waterfront, as well as at Warn Ponds campus, where we have really high tech, amazing research facilities that our students are able to get access to across that integrate once again with IT. And some of the great things that happen in creative arts as well is actually sort of like on that border of how do we use new technology to help develop artistic responses in a really innovative way. And the same in design, as we respond to these briefs and think, how do we bring in innovation into this, and using those technologies available to us to be able to do so.
Fantastic. And I think that's really well spoken. So before we move on, I will say, if you are out there listening and you do have a question, please jump on. We would love to hear from you. But I think what Maria's sort of tapped on there on the back of Katie is really thinking about the integration of the different disciplines at the university. And I think potentially that might be an option for students to think about, is that you can be doing photography, visual arts and design. And I think that our program, our majors and minors, allow for that construction. And what sort of opportunities are there for students if they choose to do design in the Bachelor of Arts? Well, that's actually a really good question. If you do a Bachelor of Arts, you can study the major of Visual Communication Design, which is 6 units over the 3 years, or alternatively, we offer 2 minor sequences. And our minor sequences in the Bachelor of Arts is web design and design thinking. So depending on the way that you'd like to engage with design in your studies and the way that you'd like to contextualize and focus your instincts and your interests moving through the degree, potentially studying 4 or 6 units only through a Bachelor of Arts will now allow you to have a range of skills in applying the systematic methodologies or the methods of thinking for design, and then thinking about how we can apply those to other areas. What technologies do animation students use in the course? That's a really good one to come through. I might send that one back to the panel there.
Yeah, I'm happy to speak to that. So moving through in our new degree sequence, we will, our 3D animation degree is aligning more so with film, television and animation. So we'd really like you, if you are interested in that, to attend that session as well. However, because we've had that under the umbrella of design, and you can do a major in perhaps UX and a major in animation, which brings in that the 3D animation technologies. So we have some fantastic labs available to us at Deakin. So we have purpose-built 3D animation studios or labs where students have access to all the latest software. We also, Tonya, the Wacom tablets that we've just ordered. And so we'll have a Wacom set up, and they're the Wacom Cintiq, the latest version of the Wacom Cintiq tablets, which allow you to draw directly to screen and have some amazing capabilities both in 2D and 3D animation. We also obviously teach interactivity within that component. So using 3D animation or learning the software, in particular Maya and Tonya, I always forget because I'm not from the 3D animation space. What was the interactive?
Yes, definitely. Look, we're also engaging with Unreal game engines. And also too thinking about Unity. So we're thinking of all forms of interactivity, all forms of creating animations for all diverse industries. And I think that that's one of the exciting things about a university, is that we do integrate industry standard and international industry standard technologies in our degrees for our students. So if you can think of what the best game places or game studios or the best animation or industrial visual effects agencies might have, that's the technology that we use and we embed for our students in animation. And that's the case across everywhere, which is really exciting.
Yeah. And we're building, Tonya, just before you sort of finish up and go to the next question, we're building a fantastic interactive screen or virtual reality. So as I said, I'm more from the visual communication area, so Tonya has a bit more intel on that, but an amazing space where it's real-time film production, which goes across into 3D animation as well. So Tonya, did you want to talk about that new space that we're building?
I don't think I can talk about that yet, but I do believe there's going to be a really exciting announcement made very soon, which is super exciting. However, I'm going to skip over that to the next question, which is, well, firstly, come and see us at Open Day, because you'll hear
Yeah.
about it, you'll see it in the flesh, you'll be able to go into those studios, put headsets on, you can get really messy, do design activities, jump behind cameras. And so the real physical experience, if you can get there in August, is not to be missed. But I think that leads us back to thinking about what a day looks like. So Katie, perhaps you can speak to what, if you could describe a day for someone who studies visual arts at Deakin, what does it look like for them?
Sure. Well, for a start, I spend my life being jealous of students who are coming to study visual arts. It's
Absolutely.
like, you know, one of the most exciting times to be able to spend time thinking about practice, and it's a really precious time. But a lot of what we encourage students to do is, well, we've got a quite a sort of well-formed program. So in the first year, you study the foundations of drawing and painting. And so your day on those days would look like coming to school, bringing equipment in, leaving them in the classrooms, and spending long hours working with the lecturers, developing your own work. We also ask students to put in a lot of time outside that face-to-face contact, where they would be researching, gathering resources, looking through library resources, and spending time outside the studio. So we've got 2 dedicated studio rooms to the visual arts area, and the students are welcome to spend as many hours as they want to. The studios are open in the evenings as well with swipe card access. So students can stay on campus. We've got, you know, a limited amount of equipment available for those evening sessions. But really then we move through other courses. So we've got things like digital practices, we've got things like 3D modeling, which is actually literally 3D physical, making 3D models, not the UX design version of that. Where students will come and be guided by lecturers in a series of sort of, we often will break it into like an hour of a lecture and then a 2-hour of a seminar, which we call, you know, lectures are called classes and seminars. So it's a combination of theory and then practice, but we're very practice oriented. So we try to introduce you to really exciting thinkers and ideas and different ways that artists might have approached their practice, and then throw you straight into the classroom to be making. We were also introducing into the second year program, or reintroducing art in public space, digital practices, and various other things that will sort of model various different ways of creating. But in each of those courses that you, or units that you might take, we're really trying to find your own pathway through that, so that you're sort of continuing to develop your own practice and identity as an artist throughout that program, by sort of exposing you and getting you to think through different mediums. So that's kind of an idea of what you might do. But, you know, it depends also on what majors and minors you take, because this course is so flexible and exciting. So there's really interesting other things that you could do. You could do, you know, a major in visual arts and a minor in creative writing. So, you know, or publishing, or theatre studies, or theatre production, or analog photography, so, or design, in fact, of course. So we've got various ways that you could sort of navigate that, and your day could look like, you know, getting your hands dirty and doing drawing and painting in the morning, and then moving into, you know, thinking about social media applications, or theatre production, or, you know, that X design thing you guys do. You know, so there's so many different ways through that. There's not really a standard answer, but it's a very open program with, it's sort of a contradiction in terms, but it's both very open but also very structured. So we would sort of help you navigate that path through.
Fantastic, Katie. And so Maria, or even Megan, can you tell us about what your day would look like as a design student at the university? We'd love to hear your experiences.
I could probably take this one, I guess. For me, usually, because Deakin does a blended learning, so it's like any lectures, any classes we do online, and then anything that's practical that you need, you need like a lecture, or you need to be like talked to, and you talk to your professor about anything in regards to projects and stuff like that. Those are done in class, and which is our seminars, which is what we do, is what we come on campus for. And I would say most of the time, these seminars relate mostly to our professor kind of talking us through what he was talking about in the lecture, kind of debriefing us about what it is that we're breaking down into our assignment, how we can apply like our lectures into our assignment, and touching base with us and kind of figure out what is our next step in our assignment, how best can we achieve what we need to do, how can Deacon help us with any problems or issues that we're having. So say, for example, like I think there was one time where I was like really struggling with one of my softwares, and I had to have a talk with one of my tutors. And he suggested that, that he can have a look and he'll help me through it. And so we sat together for maybe about like half an hour trying to figure out my issue, which was really a simple answer. But at the end of the day, it's like that one-on-one kind of learning, touching base, talking about our issues and stuff like that. And it really helps that you're like in person, face-to-face on campus, than it is like online talking to your screen. And you're kind of there, you're trying to like gauging the other person's like attitude, and you're both really engaged on trying to make the best out of your degree.
Fantastic. It's so exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, can I follow from that? And something that I think that Deacon does do really well, if you did want to, so for example, our UX degree is available both in person and online. Our online classes are not just a pre-recorded thing and then you're on your own. We actually run our seminars, so we'll be sitting live in the Zoom session with you, running our seminars, giving you practice-based time to do things, responding to different things. So we do run those as a proper seminar. And I do know that perhaps in other universities, it's not as tangible in the way that they run their online degrees. It's a little bit more left to being very, very independent. And while that option is there for you to be independent, to have that that space, even in a virtual space, to be able to have a classroom experience and have those really structured contact hours, we think is actually really important. And we're very, very, very experienced in doing that, because we didn't just shift online due to the pandemic. We've been doing online classes, for example, and I take a web design class for the whole time we've ever offered that unit. It's been available online. So our units are really written in a way that has that capacity for online students to get a really, really great experience, as well as obviously that those that really like the people-to-people contact are there. So sorry.
Thank you so much, Maria. I really appreciate that response. And we've run out of time, unfortunately. That's all we do have time for. Thank you so much for attending our live webinar Q&A session with Art and Design at Deakin University. Thank you so much to our panelists. And don't forget, if we haven't got to your question, there is the opportunity for the all-day web chat at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. So please get amongst it if you can. We'd love to see you at Open Day and to learn more about you and how to help you in your studies. So have a great day wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
See you later.
Bye.